Discovering your values. Get out your lab notebook and sit comfortably and take a few deep, relaxing breaths, bringing your full attention to this present moment. Now, for this experiment, we're going to build on your observations and insights during our initial being remembered experiment by identifying a set of values that are important to you for you to continue building a path towards living a deeper, more honest, connected, creative, exciting, open, meaningful, authentic life. So, this experiment incorporates the work of the clinical psychologist William Miller and his colleagues in their development of an exercise known as the personal values card sort. Now, during this experiment, I'm going to name and give a brief description of 100 values in no particular order that may or may not be important to you. Your job here is just to simply listen to each value and become aware when you feel like a particular value is deeply meaningful for you and the life that you want to live. It can be helpful to consider whether a particular value is something you might have been told by other people that you should care about, and really to give yourself permission here to be honest with yourself about whether a particular value is consistent with how you want to live and how you want to be remembered. It's also important to notice the tendency to judge yourself for what you do, in fact, care about. This tendency is something we'll focus on in more detail during an upcoming experiment titled Judge E and Judge F. But for now, just know that your mind might say, that's not something you should value. But again, simply be curious about what you do, in fact, care about, regardless of whether your mind has judgments about a certain value being good or bad, right or wrong, etc. If a value doesn't feel that important to you, just simply continue listening to the experiment. And when a value does feel important to you, take a moment to pause the audio and write the name and the brief description of that value in your lab notebook. And when you finish writing, go ahead and push play to continue the experiment. All right, here we go. Value number 1, novelty, to have a life full of change and variety. Power, to have control over others. Genuineness, to act in a manner that's true to who I am. Accuracy, to be correct in my opinions and beliefs. Caring, to take care of others. Intelligence, to keep my mind sharp and active. Intimacy, to share my innermost experiences with others. Leisure, to take time to relax and enjoy myself. Justice, to promote fair and equal treatment for all. Imagination, to have dreams and see possibilities. Safety, to be safe and secure. Monogamy, to have one close, loving relationship. Art, to appreciate or express myself in art. Belonging, to have a sense of being an important member of a group. Flexibility, to adjust to new circumstances easily. Self-knowledge, to have a deep and honest understanding of myself. Moderation, to avoid excesses and find a middle ground. Popularity, to be well liked by many people. Compromise, to be willing to give and take in reaching agreements. Service, to be helpful and of service to others. Inner peace, to experience personal peace. Mindfulness, to intentionally live with awareness in the present moment without judgment. Gratitude, to be thankful and appreciative. Humor, to see the humorous side of myself and the world. Growth, to keep changing and growing. Compassion, to feel and act on concern for others. Purpose, to have meaning and direction in my life. Simplicity, to live simply with minimal needs. Self acceptance, to accept myself as I am. Responsibility, to make and carry out responsible decisions. Realism, to see and act realistically and practically. Courage, to be brave and strong in the face of adversity. Self-esteem, to feel good about myself. Sexuality, to have an active and satisfying sex life. Cooperation, to work collaboratively with others. Friendship, to have close, supportive friends. Complexity, to embrace the intricacies of life. Hope, to maintain a positive and optimistic outlook. Practicality, to focus on what's practical, prudent, and sensible. Independence, to be free from depending on others. Beauty, to appreciate beauty around me. Patriotism, to love, serve, and protect my country. Solitude, to have time and space where I can be apart from others. Stability, to have a life that stays fairly consistent. Fun, to play and have fun. Health, to be physically well and healthy. Dependability, to be reliable and trustworthy. Attractiveness, to be physically attractive. Curiosity, to seek out, experience, and learn new things. Nurturance, to encourage and support others. Creativity, to create new things or ideas. Loved, to be loved by those close to me. Forgiveness, to be forgiving of others. Passion, to have deep feelings about ideas, activities, or people. Humility, to be modest and unassuming. Family, to have a happy, loving family. Courtesy, to be considerate and polite toward others. Autonomy, to be self-determined and independent. Authority, to be in charge of others. Fame, to be known and recognized. Protect, to protect and keep safe those I love. Achievement, to have important accomplishments. Self-control, to be disciplined in my own actions. Risk, to take risks and chances. Integrity, to live my daily life in a way that's consistent with my values. Leadership, to inspire and guide others. Excitement, to live a life full of thrills and stimulation. Order, to have a life that's well ordered and organized. Acceptance, to have a willingness to experience the reality of life as it is without resistance rather than avoiding difficult experiences. Romance, to have intense, exciting love in my life. Knowledge, to learn and contribute valuable knowledge. Mastery, to be competent in my everyday activities. Provide, to provide for and take care of others. Rationality, to be guided by reason, logic, and evidence. Loving, to give love to others. Industry, to work hard and well at my life tasks. Diligence, to be thorough and conscientious in whatever I do. Adventure, to have new and exciting experiences. Pleasure, to feel good. Wealth, to have plenty of money and material prosperity. Fitness, to be physically fit and strong. Commitment, to make enduring, meaningful commitments. Faithfulness, to be loyal and true in relationships. Openness, to be open to new experiences, ideas, and options. Nonconformity, to question and challenge authority and norms. Music, to enjoy or express myself in music. Spirituality, to grow and mature spiritually. Challenge, to take on difficult tasks and problems. Honesty, to be truthful, not lying, misleading, stealing, cheating, or breaking promises. Tolerance, to accept and respect those who differ from me. God's will, to seek and obey the will of a deity. Ecology, to live in harmony with the environment. Comfort, to have a pleasant and comfortable life. Tradition, to follow respected patterns of the past. Contribution, to make a lasting contribution in the world. Duty, to carry out my duties and obligations. World peace, to work to promote peace in the world. Freedom, to be free from undue restrictions and limitations. Generosity, to give what I have to others. And now, number 100, virtue, to live a morally pure and excellent life. So, there you go, 100 values, with some of them likely being important to you and the life you want to live. So now take a few moments to read back over the values you wrote down as being particularly important for you. And as you look those over, notice if there are any important values to you that weren't mentioned during this experiment. You might go back to what you wrote down during our previous experiment on being remembered to see if there are additional values that came up from the people you care most about when they were talking about you and the life you lived. And if so, you might want to add those to the list of values you wrote down during this experiment. As always, feeling free to pause the audio to take all the time you need to write down any additional values to complete your list. All right. And now, as we bring the experiment to an end and you go about the rest of your day, it might be interesting to notice where you see specific values from your list being exemplified in your daily life. Where do opportunities for living out these values regularly come up for you? Maybe at school or at work. Do you see people moving towards or moving away from these values? People on the news, or maybe seeing this while you're scrolling down your various social media feeds. And you might recall from our experiment today and our last experiment on being remembered that both integrity and authenticity are characterized by living our daily life in a way that's consistent with our chosen values. So if you notice areas of your life that are fairly well aligned with your values, that's awesome. And if you're anything like me, and you inevitably notice examples of your own behavior falling short of your values, rather than beating yourself up with judgment and guilt and shame and a bunch of other punishing responses, what would it be like if you decided instead to adopt a stance of openness and curiosity? What if instead of beating ourselves up with those evaluative judgments, we decided to learn from these experiences to continue the work of making specific, tiny changes to live ever more meaningful lives?